A mother's love for her child is like nothing else in the world. It knows no law, no pity. It dares all things and crushes down remorselessly all that stands in its path, said Agatha Christie. Sheeba Ameer, a married mother of two, a homemaker married to a marine biologist, Ameer Ali, was content to live her life running her home and taking care of her family. Armed with only a high school education and having never held down a job, her family was her world. Married off at 18 and having become a mother soon after, her son Nikhil and daughter Nilufer were the apples of her eye, and she lived and breathed for them. In a word, she was every woman, up until life as she knew it changed. After a long stint of living in the Middle East, where Sheeba never really quite felt at home, she and the children returned to Kerala, her home state where her heart lay, to start the next phase of their lives. The children had just joined their new school, and things were all starting to fall in place when 13-year-old Neelu started a fever which lingered longer than usual. An innocuous visit to the doctor, followed by a bone marrow biopsy, revealed the unfathomable. Neelu had acute myeloid leukemia, blood cancer. The diagnosis struck the family like a thunderbolt. Being financially secure and having connections with important people, the family resolved to get Neelu the best treatment they could afford. And it was decided that they would have her treated at the Tata Memorial Hospital in Mumbai, the #1 name associated with cancer treatment and research in Asia. The family flew into Mumbai the very next day, and for Sheeba and daughter Neelu, the children's cancer care ward at Tata Memorial would become home for the next 3 years. Under Dr. Purvish M. Parekh, head of the Department of Oncology, Neelu began her treatment, and after a life-saving bone marrow transplant, for which her own brother Nikhil donated his bone marrow, Neelu was cured and declared cancer-free. Overjoyed as Sheeba was for her daughter's new lease of life, the experience had been bittersweet. Their 3 years in the pediatric cancer ward at Tata Memorial had exposed Sheeba and Neelu to a world they had hitherto never had to experience in close quarters. A world where social and economic disparity made all the difference between life and death. Whereas they were spending some 3 lakh rupees a day for aggressive life-saving medical treatments for Neelu, around her, Sheeba saw parents crying from helplessness, from not being able to afford even basic treatment for their desperately ailing children, let alone buy them a meal each day. Her heart broke to see many parents leave their sick children's bedside each day to try and cough up money for their treatment. Their helplessness, guilt, and frustration affected Sheeba and young Nilufer profoundly. Neelu, who was still recovering, would ask her mother, who had been her own rock through her treatment, to go spend time with those sick children and their families. "What can we do to help them, Umma?" she would ask, her eyes glistening with tears. This set the wheels in motion for the idea that would transform their lives and give hope to thousands of ailing children and their families in the years to come. That was a moment when Sheeba, an ordinary every woman, crossed the bridge from ordinary to extraordinary. She promised her daughter that day that when they returned to Kerala, they would start an organization dedicated to enabling not only the curative and palliative care of children with long-term illnesses, but also in providing moral and financial support to their families. By the time they left the hospital, their vision was clear in their minds, and they even had thought of the name for this organization: Solace, meaning comfort, consolation, support. That one word stood for every single goal that they hoped to achieve. But the path to starting Solace was no cakewalk. Sheeba, with her limited knowledge of the world outside her home and financially dependent on her husband, was unable to convince her family that she could make Solace a reality. But her father, the great radical humanist and reformer, the late P.K.A. Rahim, inspired her to let the fire in her heart light her path, and that it would lead the way to her dream. Armed with the strength of his words and Nilu's constant encouragement, Sheeba embarked on building her dream brick by brick. She got her first job, painstakingly saved her salary to start a small business. All this while volunteering several hours a day with the Pain and Palliative Care Center in Thrissur, where she learned firsthand all that palliative care entailed and how to maintain and sustain an organization that was devoted to it. Solace finally became a reality in 2007, and till date remains one of the only organizations devoted exclusively to pediatric palliative care in the country. 11 years down the road, there are 2,000 children that are registered with Solace, out of which Solace provides for life-supporting medicines and treatment for 1,800 of these children. In addition, Sheeba is overjoyed to report that Solace has grown above and beyond what she and Nilu had envisioned. I want to call it a coming together of like-minded souls, she says. I can't thank enough the noble souls that contribute to our cause, our army of volunteers who work tirelessly, visiting homes, spending time with the children and their families, comforting them, raising funds not just for medicines, but also things like rice kits and school supplies for children from poorer families, devoting their time and energy for a cause that has become so dear to them because they see how it is helping spread smiles and saving lives. I was only the spark, Sheeba says, but Solace is now a fire that blazes bright in many hearts. The strongest women of the world are not those that go into space, conquer mountains, or rule nations. They are the mothers that spend years and often entire lifetimes caring for their sick children. Like lionesses, they hold their babies close to their hearts and will risk anything to protect them. Sheeba Ameer, CNN Real Hero 2011, Vanitha Woman of the Year 2011, Founder Secretary of Solace, mother that never gave up. Dedicated to the memory of Niloufar Ameer, who earned her angel wings in 2013 after beating cancer. She continues to be the fire that stokes the spirit of Solace.